My name is Earline Thompson, and I'm 68 years old. Last night, my daughter Cora screamed at the top of her lungs that she hated me, that I'd ruined her life, and that I was the worst mother in the world. Cora is 43 years old. She's not a teenager having a tantrum. She's a grown woman who'd been living in my house for 2 years, contributing nothing, and treating me like I existed solely to serve her. But last night was different from the hundreds of other arguments we'd had. Last night, when Cora screamed, "I hate you," with such venom that spit flew from her mouth, something inside me snapped. Not in anger, in clarity. I looked at my daughter, my only child, the baby I'd raised alone after her father left, the woman I'd sacrificed everything for, and I felt nothing but exhaustion and peace with what I needed to do. "Okay," I said calmly. "Okay," Cora repeated, confused by my calm response. "That's all you have to say, okay." "Yes," I said. "You hate me. You've made that very clear, so you don't need to live with someone you hate. You can leave." "Leave?" Cora laughed bitterly. "Where am I supposed to go?" "That's your problem to solve," I said, "but you're not staying here anymore." "You can't kick me out," Cora shouted. "This is my home too." "No," I corrected quietly but firmly. "This is MY home. You've been living here as a guest for 2 years. A guest who contributes nothing, treats me terribly, and just screamed that she hates me. That guest relationship is over." "You're serious?" Cora asked, disbelief mixing with rage on her face. "Completely serious," I said. "I want you out of my house." Cora stared at me, waiting for me to back down like I always had before. But I didn't. I just looked at her calmly, my decision made. "Fine," Cora finally shouted. "I'll leave, but don't come crawling to me when you're old and sick and need help. You're making a choice right now to be alone, and you'll regret it." "Maybe," I said, "but I'd rather be alone than live with someone who hates me." Cora stormed to her bedroom, my guest bedroom that she'd taken over 2 years ago, and slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the hallway wall. And I stood there in my kitchen, feeling something I hadn't felt in years: peace. That night, after Cora had gone to bed, I did something I'd never done before. I went into her room while she slept, and I started packing her belongings. Not out of anger or spite, but with calm, methodical purpose. I packed her clothes into suitcases. I boxed up her toiletries, her books, her random possessions that had spread throughout my house like an invasion. It took me 3 hours to pack everything. My back ached by the time I finished, but I kept going because I knew, if I waited until morning, I might lose my nerve. I might let Cora manipulate me again. I might fall back into the pattern of enabling that had defined our relationship for 43 years. So I packed while she slept, and when I finished, I stacked all her suitcases and boxes by the front door. Then I went to bed in my own room and slept better than I had in 2 years. The next morning, Cora would wake up to find her bags packed and waiting. And when she saw them, when she realized I was serious, her whole world would shatter. But to understand why I finally reached my breaking point, why I was willing to lose my daughter to reclaim my peace, I need to take you back. Back to the beginning. Back to when Cora was a little girl and I was a young mother doing my best. I was 25 years old when Cora was born in 1982. Her father, George Thompson, was 27. We'd been married for 3 years and were excited to start our family. But when Cora was 4 years old, George left us. Not because of another woman or some dramatic reason. He simply said one day, "I don't want to be married anymore. I don't want the responsibility of a family." And he left, just like that. George paid child support sporadically for a few years, then stopped completely when Cora was 8. I tried to track him down through the courts, but he'd moved out of state, and the enforcement was difficult. So I raised Cora alone, just me and my daughter against the world. I worked as a bookkeeper during the day. The pay was modest, $28,000 a year, but it was steady and allowed me to be home with Cora in the evenings. Money was always tight. I budgeted carefully, bought clothes at thrift stores, clipped coupons, and made do with less so Cora could have more. "Mama, can I take dance classes?" 7-year-old Cora asked one day. All my friends take dance. Dance classes cost $100 a month, money I didn't have in the budget. But I picked up weekend work doing bookkeeping for small businesses and made it happen. Mama, I need new shoes for school, 10-year-old Cora said. The girls are wearing Nike. Nike shoes cost $80. I was wearing shoes with holes in the soles that I'd stuffed with cardboard. But I bought Cora the Nikes. Every time Cora wanted something, I found a way to provide it. Every time Cora needed something, I sacrificed to give it to her. I told myself I was being a good mother, that I was making up for George leaving, that Cora deserved to have what her friends had, even if we were poorer than their families. But I realize now, I wasn't just providing for Cora. I was teaching her that she deserved everything she wanted without working for it, that my job was to sacrifice endlessly while she received endlessly. I was creating an entitled adult. The first signs of serious attitude problems appeared when Cora was 13. Mom, I need a new phone, Cora announced one day. Everyone has smartphones now. Honey, smartphones are expensive, I said. The one you have works fine for calls and texts. But it's embarrassing, Cora complained. I'm the only one without a smartphone. Do you want me to be a social outcast? I don't want you to be an outcast, I said gently. But I can't afford a smartphone right now, maybe for your birthday. My birthday is 4 months away, Cora interrupted. I need it now. You never think about what I need. You only care about money. That's not true, I protested. I work hard to provide everything I can for you. Well, it's not enough, Cora shouted. All my friends' parents buy them nice things, but you're so cheap you can't even buy me a phone. She stormed to her room and slammed the door. I stood there stunned. Cheap. I'd been working 6 days a week, going without new clothes or meals out or any luxuries, so Cora could have dance classes and Nike shoes and everything else she wanted. But I ended up buying Cora the smartphone, not because I could afford it, but because I felt guilty. Because I didn't want her to be the only one without it, because I wanted to be a good mother. I put it on a credit card and paid the minimum each month for 2 years. The second major incident happened when Cora was 16. She wanted to go to a concert 3 hours away with her friends. No parental supervision, just 4 teenage girls driving themselves. No, I said firmly. You're too young to drive that far without an adult, and I don't know these friends well enough to trust their driving. You're ruining my life, Cora screamed. Everyone else's parents are letting them go, but you have to be the strict one who makes me look like a baby. Cora, I'm protecting you, I tried to explain. Long drives with inexperienced drivers are dangerous. I don't care, Cora interrupted. You're just trying to control me. You don't want me to have any fun because you never have any fun. You're jealous of me. Jealous of my 16-year-old daughter. The accusation was so absurd I didn't know how to respond. I'm not jealous, I said. I'm your mother trying to keep you safe. Well, you're doing a terrible job of being my mother, Cora shouted. A good mother would trust me and let me go. She cried and refused to speak to me for 3 days. She told her friends I was the worst mom ever. She made me feel like I was being unreasonable for having basic safety concerns. Eventually, I gave in. I let her go to the concert, and I spent the entire night awake, terrified I'd get a call about an accident. Nothing bad happened. The girls came home safely. But Cora had learned another lesson. If she made me feel guilty enough, I'd give in. Cora went to college at a state university 2 hours away. The tuition was $12,000 a year, plus room and board, books, and expenses. I didn't have that kind of money, but I took out loans, worked overtime, and cobbled together enough to send her. Thanks, Mom, Cora said when I told her I'd figured out the finances. Not thank you so much for sacrificing to make this possible. Just a casual thanks like I'd passed her the salt. In college, Cora's expectations grew. She needed money for textbooks, for a meal plan upgrade, for sorority fees, for spring break trips, for new clothes for job interviews. Every month there was something. And every month I found a way to send her money, even when it meant I was eating ramen and skipping my own bills. Cora called me once a week. The calls were always the same. "Hi, Mom, how are you?" "Good. Listen, I need to ask you something." The something was always money or a favor. Never just calling to talk, never asking about my life, just, "I need." College should have taken 4 years. It took Cora 5 years because she changed her major twice and failed a few classes. Each extra year cost me thousands of dollars I didn't have. But I paid because I wanted Cora to have her degree. When Cora finally graduated at 23, I thought things would change. That she'd get a job, become independent, start her adult life. Instead, Cora moved back home. "Just until I find a good job, Mom," Cora said when she moved back in. "A few months tops." A few months turned into a year, then 2 years, then 5 years. Cora had a degree in communications, but she couldn't find work that matched her qualifications. "This job only pays $35,000, Cora would complain. "That's insulting for someone with my education." "But it's entry-level experience," I'd point out. "You'd move up." "I'm not taking an entry-level job at 25, Cora would interrupt. "I deserve better than that." Eventually, Cora did get a job at a marketing firm, making $42,000 a year. She moved out into an apartment with a roommate. For 3 years, Cora was independent. I was proud. Then Cora lost her job. She claimed she was laid off, but I suspected she was fired for poor performance or attitude. At 28, Cora moved back home again. "Just temporarily, Mom," Cora promised. "Just until I find something better." But Cora didn't look for work seriously. She'd browse job sites occasionally, but rarely applied to anything. "The market is terrible," Cora would say. "There's nothing good available." Meanwhile, I was supporting both of us on my modest bookkeeper salary and retirement savings. And Cora's behavior grew worse. More demanding, more disrespectful, more entitled. "What's for dinner?" Cora would ask, not offering to help cook, just expecting to be fed. "Can you do my laundry?" Cora would say, not asking, instructing. "I need gas money," Cora would state, not requesting, demanding. And if I pushed back even slightly, Cora's anger would flare. "Why are you being difficult?" Cora would snap. "I'm your daughter, you're supposed to help me." That phrase, "supposed to," bothered me deeply, as if helping her was my obligation, not her privilege. 2 years ago, when Cora was 41, she lost another job and her apartment. She moved back into my house. "Just until I get back on my feet, Mom," Cora said. "I promise it's temporary." But it wasn't temporary. Cora stayed, and stayed, and stayed. And her behavior deteriorated completely. She took over my guest bedroom and spread her belongings throughout my entire house. She monopolized the TV every evening, watching her shows with no consideration for what I might want to watch. She ate the food I bought without contributing financially. She made messes and expected me to clean them. She treated me like a combination servant, an ATM. "Mom, I need $50. Mom, what's for dinner? Mom, why isn't my laundry done?" Not requests, demands. And when I'd suggest Cora get a job, any job, her response was always defensive. "I'm looking," Cora would insist. "The job market is terrible. You don't understand how hard it is." But Cora wasn't looking. She'd scroll through job listings for 15 minutes a day, maybe apply to 1 or 2 positions per month, and spend the rest of her time watching TV and sleeping. At 66, I was still working part-time as a bookkeeper, living on Social Security and small retirement savings, supporting my 41-year-old daughter who contributed absolutely nothing. Money became impossibly tight. I had $800 a month after paying my mortgage and utilities. That had to cover groceries, gas, medication, and any emergencies for both of us. I started skipping my own medications to afford Cora's food. I stopped going to the doctor for checkups because I couldn't afford the copays. I was sacrificing my health and financial security for a daughter who showed no gratitude and no effort to change. 6 months ago, Cora's demands escalated to a new level. "Mom, I need you to co-sign a car loan," Cora announced one day. "What?" I asked, shocked. "Cora, I can't co-sign a loan. My credit isn't good and I can't take on that debt." "I need a car," Cora interrupted. "How am I supposed to get a job without reliable transportation?" "You have a car," I pointed out. She had an old sedan that ran fine. "It's 15 years old," Cora complained. "It's embarrassing. I need something newer and nicer for job interviews." "Cora, I can't afford to co-sign a loan," I said firmly. "If you can't make the payments, I'd be responsible. I can't risk that." "So you're saying no?" Cora asked, her voice turning cold. "I'm saying I can't," I clarified. "You mean you won't," Cora corrected bitterly. "You could if you wanted to, you just don't care about helping me." "That's not true," I protested. "I've been helping you for 2 years. I'm supporting you completely." "And now when I actually need something, you say no," Cora said. "Typical, you only help when it's convenient for you." She was twisting reality so completely that I felt dizzy. But I held firm. I didn't co-sign the loan. Cora didn't speak to me for a week. She made a point of being cold, distant, making me feel the withdrawal of her affection as punishment for not giving her what she wanted. Eventually, things went back to normal, meaning Cora resumed making demands, and I resumed meeting them while she contributed nothing. 1 month ago, I received a notice from my bank. My account was overdrawn. I was shocked. I'd been managing my money carefully. I checked my statement and discovered 3 unauthorized charges totaling $600. Online shopping, restaurants, entertainment subscriptions, all charged to my debit card, which was in my wallet in my purse, which meant someone in my house had taken my card and used it without permission. "Cora," I said, showing her the statement, "did you use my debit card?" "Oh, yeah," Cora said casually. "I needed a few things." "You stole my debit card and spent $600, I asked, trying to control my anger. "I didn't steal it," Cora said defensively. "I borrowed it. We're family. What's yours is mine." "No," I said firmly. "What's mine is mine. You took my card without permission and spent money I don't have. Now my account is overdrawn and I'll be charged fees." "Well, you should have more money in your account," Cora said, as if this was my fault. "I don't have more money because I'm supporting both of us," I said, my voice rising now. "Cora, this has to stop. You need to get a job. You need to start contributing. I can't keep doing this." "I'm trying to find work," Cora insisted. "But you're putting so much pressure on me it's making it harder. How am I supposed to focus on my job search when you're constantly nagging me?" "I'm not nagging," I said. "I'm asking you to take responsibility for yourself. You're 43 years old, Cora. You should be supporting yourself, not living off your 68-year-old mother." "So you're throwing my age in my face now," Cora said, "making me feel bad about struggling. What kind of mother does that?" "A mother who's exhausted," I said quietly. "A mother who spent 43 years giving everything and receiving nothing but demands and disrespect in return." "Wow," Cora said. "So that's how you really feel about me. Good to know." She stormed to her room and slammed the door. And I stood there realizing nothing I said would change Cora's perspective. She'd twisted every boundary I tried to set into evidence that I was the bad guy. She'd made herself the victim of my selfishness, when the reality was she'd been taking advantage of me for years. That was the moment I started planning, thinking about what my life would look like without Cora in it, whether I had the strength to actually make her leave. Last night started with another money argument. I'd received my Social Security check, $200 for the month. After paying the mortgage, utilities, and insurance, I had $350 left. Cora approached me that evening. "Mom, I need $300. "For what?" I asked. "Does it matter?" Cora said impatiently. "Yes, it matters," I said. "I have very little money left for the month. If I give you $300, I'll have $50 for groceries and gas for both of us." "I'll pay you back," Cora promised. "When?" I asked. "You don't have income, Cora. You can't pay me back." I will when I get a job, Cora insisted. You've been saying that for 2 years, I pointed out. Cora, I can't give you $300. I need that money for necessities. Necessities for you, Cora corrected. You never think about what I need. What you need is a job, I said, my patience finally breaking. You're a capable adult. You have a college degree. There's no reason you can't work. The job market is terrible, Cora shouted. The job market is fine, I said firmly. What's terrible is your attitude. You refuse to take entry-level positions. You refuse to work retail or food service or anything you consider beneath you. You're not willing to start at the bottom and work your way up. Because I have a degree, Cora yelled. I shouldn't have to work minimum wage. Why not? I challenged. I worked minimum wage jobs when you were little. I worked whatever I could find to support us. But you're too proud to do the same. I'm not you, Cora screamed. I'm not going to waste my life working terrible jobs just to barely survive. Then how do you plan to survive? I asked. You're 43 years old with no job, no savings, living off your elderly mother. What's your plan, Cora? Live here forever while I support you. Would that be so terrible? Cora demanded. I'm your daughter, you're supposed to take care of me. I've been taking care of you for 43 years, I said, my voice breaking. When does it end, Cora? When do you start taking care of yourself? This is who you really are, Cora said, her voice venomous now. A selfish woman who resents her own daughter, who sees helping me as a burden instead of what mothers are supposed to do. What mothers are supposed to do is raise independent adults, I said. I failed at that. I enabled you. I protected you from consequences. I did everything for you instead of teaching you to do things yourself. And now you're a 43-year-old woman who can't function without mommy's support. That's when Cora screamed it. I hate you. The words echoed through my small house. Cora's face was red, twisted with rage. Spit flew from her mouth as she screamed. I hate you. You've ruined my life. You're the worst mother in the world. Everything wrong with my life is your fault. I stood there looking at my daughter, my baby girl who I'd sacrificed everything for, and felt absolute clarity. Okay, I said calmly. And that's when everything changed. Before I continue, kindly subscribe now. Hit that like button and turn on NOTIFICTONS. Drop a comment. Is Earline doing the right thing? Should she kick out her daughter? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, Australia? Let me know. I woke up at 6 a.m. the morning after packing Cora's bags. My back ached from the 3 hours I'd spent moving her belongings, but I felt lighter than I had in years. I made myself coffee, just for myself, not thinking about what Cora would want for breakfast. I sat at my kitchen table in the quiet morning light and felt peace. At 7:30, I heard Cora's bedroom door open. I heard her shuffle down the hallway toward the bathroom. Then I heard her footsteps stop. She'd seen the suitcases and boxes stacked by the front door. What the hell? Cora's voice came from the hallway. I took another sip of my coffee and waited. Cora appeared in the kitchen doorway, her hair messy from sleep, staring at me with confusion and growing anger. Did you pack my stuff? Cora demanded. Yes, I said calmly. Why? Cora asked. Because you're leaving, I said simply. You said you hate me. You said I've ruined your life. You don't need to live with someone who ruins your life and who you hate. I didn't mean it like that, Cora said quickly, her tone shifting from anger to panic. I was upset. People say things when they're upset. You've said things like that many times, I pointed out. This wasn't a one-time outburst. You regularly tell me I'm a terrible mother, which I don't do enough for you, that I'm selfish. Last night was just the most explicit version of what you've been saying for years. So you're kicking me out because of one fight? Cora asked incredulously. I'm asking you to leave because I'm done enabling you, I corrected. Cora, you're 43 years old. You've been living here for 2 years without contributing anything. You don't work. You don't help with household expenses. You don't do chores. You just take and demand and complain. I've been looking for work, Cora protested. No, you haven't, I said firmly. You've been pretending to look for work while rejecting any job you consider beneath you. Meanwhile, I've been supporting both of us on my limited income, skipping my own medications to afford your food. I didn't ask you to do that, Cora said defensively. You didn't have to ask, I said. You just assumed I would, because that's what I've always done, sacrificed myself so you could be comfortable. Because you're my mother, Cora said. That's what mothers do. No, I said. Mothers raise children to become independent adults. I failed at that. I did too much for you. I protected you from every consequence. I enabled your entitlement. And now you're a 43-year-old woman who can't function without mommy's support. This is unbelievable, Cora said, shaking her head. You're really going to throw me out, your own daughter. I'm not throwing you out, I said. I'm telling you that you can no longer live here while contributing nothing and treating me badly. If you want to stay, you need to get a job, any job, within 2 weeks, start paying rent, and treat me with basic respect. 2 weeks, Cora said. That's not enough time. It's more than enough time to find work, I said. There are retail jobs, food service jobs, warehouse jobs, cleaning jobs, plenty of work available for people willing to take it. You want me to work at McDonald's? Cora asked with disgust. If that's what's available, yes, I said. There's nothing wrong with honest work, Cora. I worked retail when you were little. I worked as a waitress on weekends. I did what was necessary to support us. I have a college degree, Cora said. I shouldn't have to work minimum wage. Then find something better, I said. You have 2 weeks. Get any job or find somewhere else to live. Those are your options. Where am I supposed to go? Cora asked desperately. You could stay with friends, I suggested. Or find a roommate situation. Or go to a shelter while you save money for a deposit. A shelter, Cora repeated, horrified. You'd let your own daughter go to a homeless shelter. You're not homeless, I said. You have 2 weeks to find work and housing. That's more than many people get. Use the time wisely. Cora stared at me, clearly expecting me to back down. When I didn't, her expression hardened. Fine, Cora said coldly. I'll leave. But when you're old and sick and need help, don't call me. You're making a choice right now, throwing away your daughter for money, and you'll regret it. Maybe, I said. But I'd rather be alone and at peace than constantly stressed and disrespected in my own home. Cora grabbed one of her suitcases and her purse and stormed out the front door without another word. I sat at my kitchen table and listened to her car start and drive away. And then I cried, not tears of regret, but tears of relief mixed with grief. Relief that the constant tension was over. Grief for the relationship I'd hoped to have with my daughter but never would. That first day without Cora in the house was strange. I kept expecting to hear her bedroom door open, to hear her call out demanding something, to feel the weight of her presence. But there was only silence, beautiful, peaceful silence. I walked through my house and noticed things I hadn't noticed in years. How much space I had now. How clean everything looked without Cora's clutter everywhere. How my own home felt like mine again. I made dinner just for myself. A simple meal of soup and salad. I ate it slowly, without rush, without someone complaining about what I'd made. That evening, I sat on my couch, the couch Cora had monopolized for 2 years, and watched what I wanted to watch on TV. It felt strange, almost guilty, like I was doing something wrong by enjoying my own space. But it also felt right. At 8 p.m., my phone rang. It was Cora. Mom, I need to come get more of my stuff, Cora said. No greeting, no apology. Okay, I said. When? Tomorrow, Cora said. In the afternoon. That's fine, I said. Just let me know what time so I can be here. Where would you be? Cora asked suspiciously. You never go anywhere. I might start, I said, now that I have time and energy for my own life. Cora made a disgusted sound and hung up. The next afternoon, Cora showed up at 2 p.m. with a friend, a woman I'd never met named Mamie. This is my friend from the job search support group, Cora explained coldly. She's helping me move. Nice to meet you, I said to Mamie. Mamie just nodded. clearly uncomfortable being in the middle of a family conflict. Cora and Mamie loaded the remaining boxes and bags into Mamie's truck. I watched from the kitchen, not helping, not interfering. After they'd loaded everything, Cora came back inside. "I'm taking the TV from the guest room," Cora announced. "No, you're not," I said. "That's my TV. I bought it years ago." "I've been using it for 2 years," Cora protested. "It's basically mine." "Using something doesn't make it yours," I said firmly. "The TV stays here." "You're being petty," Cora said. "I'm being clear about what belongs to whom," I corrected. "You can take your belongings, everything else stays." Cora glared at me but didn't push further. She knew she was wrong. "Where are you staying?" I asked. "With Mamie temporarily," Cora said. "She has a couch I can sleep on while I look for something permanent." "Have you applied to any jobs?" I asked. "That's none of your business anymore," Cora said coldly. "You made it clear you don't care about my struggles." "I care about you," I said, "but I won't enable you anymore. There's a difference." "Whatever," Cora muttered. She headed toward the door, then turned back. "You know, everyone I tell about this thinks you're terrible, kicking out your own daughter. What kind of mother does that?" "The kind who's tired of being taken advantage of," I said. Cora left without another word. The first week after Cora left was harder than I expected. Not because I missed her presence, but because of the guilt. I'd wake up thinking, did I do the right thing? Should I have given her more time? What if something bad happens to her? My neighbor, Letty, noticed I seemed troubled. "You okay, Earline?" Letty asked one afternoon when she saw me gardening in my yard, something I hadn't had energy to do in years. "My daughter moved out," I said. "Or rather, I asked her to leave." "The one who was living with you?" Letty asked. "Yes," I confirmed. "Good," Letty said firmly. I looked at her surprised. "Good." "Earline, I've lived next door to you for 15 years, Letty said. "I've watched that girl take advantage of you. I've heard her yelling at you. I've seen you looking more exhausted every year while she does nothing. You should have kicked her out years ago." "She's my daughter," I said. "I love her." "Love doesn't mean letting someone drain you dry," Letty said. "What you did took courage. Don't second-guess it." "But what if she ends up homeless?" I asked. "What if something terrible happens?" "She's a grown woman," Letty said. "She's responsible for her own choices. You offered her a way to stay, get a job, and contribute. She chose not to take that option. Whatever happens now is on her, not you." "It doesn't feel that way," I admitted. "I know," Letty said kindly. "But Earline, you look better than you have in years. You're gardening, you're smiling. You're living instead of just surviving. That's not nothing." She was right. Despite the guilt, I felt better, lighter, more like myself. 2 weeks after Cora left, she called me. "Mom, I need to talk to you," Cora said, her voice different, less hostile, more desperate. "Okay," I said carefully. "I can't stay with Mamie anymore," Cora said. "She said I need to leave by the end of the week, and I haven't found anywhere else yet." "Have you found a job?" I asked. "I've applied to a few places," Cora said vaguely. "That's not what I asked," I said. "Have you found a job? Do you have income?" "Not yet," Cora admitted. "The places I've applied haven't gotten back to me." "What places?" I asked. "Marketing firms mostly," Cora said. "A few communications positions." "Cora, those are the same types of jobs you've been applying to for 2 years," I said. "You need income now, not eventually. Have you applied to any retail or service jobs?" "I'm not working retail," Cora said firmly. "Then you're choosing not to work," I said. "Because work is available. You're just refusing to take it." "So you're not going to help me?" Cora asked. "I'll help you find resources," I said. "There are shelters, job placement services, community programs." "Shelters?" Cora interrupted. "You're really going to let me go to a shelter?" "I'm going to let you face the consequences of your choices," I said. "You had 2 weeks to find work. You chose not to take available jobs. Now you need to figure out housing. Those are the natural consequences." "I can't believe you," Cora said, her voice breaking. Your own daughter might be homeless and you don't care. I care very much, I said. That's why I'm not rescuing you, because rescuing you means you never learn, you never grow, you never become independent. So this is about teaching me a lesson, Cora asked bitterly. This is about you learning to take care of yourself, I said. Something you should have learned 20 years ago, but didn't because I always protected you from consequences. I hope you can live with yourself, Cora said coldly and hung up. I sat there holding the phone, my heart aching but my resolve firm. This was the hardest thing I'd ever done, but I knew it was necessary. 1 month after Cora left, I received a strange phone call. Is this Earline Thompson? A woman's voice asked. Yes, I said. Who's calling? My name is Geneva Porter. I'm a case manager at the Women's Resource Center, the woman explained. Your daughter Cora listed you as her emergency contact. My heart sank. Is she okay? She's fine, Geneva assured me quickly. She came to us looking for housing assistance. We help women who are experiencing homelessness or housing instability. I see, I said quietly. Mrs. Thompson, I'm calling because Cora has been telling us that you kicked her out without warning and refused to help her, Geneva said carefully. She's portraying herself as a victim of family abandonment, but our screening process includes contacting family members when possible, and I wanted to hear your side. What do you want to know? I asked. Did you kick Cora out without warning? Geneva asked. No, I said. I gave her a choice. Get a job within 2 weeks and start contributing to the household or find other housing. She chose not to get a job. So employment was available to her, Geneva asked. Yes, I confirmed. There are many retail, food service, and warehouse positions available in our area. Cora refused to apply to them because she considers them beneath her college degree. I see, Geneva said. And how long had Cora been living with you before this ultimatum? 2 years, I said. 2 years of contributing nothing financially, refusing to work, treating me disrespectfully. And once even stealing my debit card to spend $600 without permission. There was a pause. She stole from you. Yes, I confirmed. When I confronted her, she said we're family, so what's mine is hers. Mrs. Thompson, may I speak frankly? Geneva asked. Please, I said. We see a lot of women at our center who are genuinely victims of circumstances beyond their control, domestic violence, job loss due to illness, disabilities that make employment difficult, Geneva explained. But we also see women who are chronic avoiders of responsibility, who expect everyone else to support them. Cora fits the second category, Geneva continued. In our intake interview, she couldn't explain why she hasn't worked in 2 years. She made excuses about the job market being bad, but she also admitted she's only applied to professional positions and refuses to consider other work. That sounds accurate, I said. I wanted to call you because our program is designed for women who genuinely can't help themselves, Geneva said. Not for women who won't help themselves. Based on what you've told me, Cora doesn't qualify for our long-term housing assistance. What happens to her now? I asked, concerned despite everything. We'll give her temporary shelter for up to 30 days while she looks for work, Geneva explained. But she'll be required to apply to at least 10 jobs per week and accept any position offered. If she refuses to work, she'll have to leave our program. Thank you for calling, I said, and for being honest with me. You're welcome, Geneva said. And Mrs. Thompson, you did the right thing. Enabling adult children helps no one. After the call ended, I felt conflicting emotions. Relief that Cora had a safe place to stay, but also validation that my decision had been right. Even professionals who worked with women in crisis could see that Cora's situation was self-created, that she wasn't a victim of circumstances, but of her own choices. 6 weeks after Cora left, she called me again, but this time her voice was different. Mom, Cora said quietly, can I talk to you? Of course, I said. I got a job, Cora said. That's wonderful, I said, genuinely pleased. What kind of job? Retail, Cora admitted. At a department store, it's Not what I imagine myself doing, but it's a job. I'm proud of you for taking it, I said. The shelter made me, Cora said. They said I had to accept any position offered or I'd have to leave. So when the department store called, I took it. How is it? I asked. Honestly, it's hard, Cora said. I'm on my feet all day. The customers can be rude. The pay is only $15 an hour, but... But what? I prompted. But I'm making my own money, Cora said quietly. For the first time in 2 years, I have income. I got my first paycheck yesterday and I cried. Why? I asked gently. Because I realized how long it's been since I earned anything myself, Cora said. How long I've been dependent on you, and I felt ashamed. This was the first time I'd ever heard Cora express genuine self-awareness about her situation. What are you going to do now? I asked. The shelter is helping me find a room to rent, Cora explained. One of the staff knows someone who rents rooms for $500 a month, including utilities. I can afford that on my salary if I budget carefully. That sounds like a good plan, I said. There was a long pause. Then Cora said, Mom, I'm sorry. For what? I asked, though I knew. For everything, Cora said, her voice breaking. For the past 2 years, for screaming that I hated you, for stealing your money, for taking advantage of you, for treating you terribly. I appreciate the apology, I said carefully. I've been doing some thinking, Cora continued. The shelter has a counselor who talks to everyone. She helped me see. Mom, I've been blaming you for my problems my whole life. But you're not responsible for my failures. I am. What made you realize that? I asked. Being forced to support myself, Cora admitted. When you kicked me out, I was so angry. I told everyone you were a terrible mother. But then I actually had to figure things out on my own, and I realized this is what adults do. They work. They pay bills. They take care of themselves. And I've been avoiding all of that for years. I'm glad you're seeing that now, I said. Mom, can I ask you something? Cora said. Yes. Do you think we can rebuild our relationship? Cora asked. I know I've damaged it badly, but maybe if I show you I've changed, we could have some kind of connection again. I thought carefully before answering. Cora, I would like that, but it has to be a different relationship, not the one where I sacrifice everything and you take everything. A relationship between two independent adults who respect each other. I understand, Cora said. I'd like to try. Then let's start small, I suggested. Maybe coffee once a month, no expectations, no demands, just two people getting to know each other as adults. I'd like that, Cora said. Thank you, Mom, for not giving up on me, even when I deserved it. You're welcome, I said. Before I continue, kindly subscribe now. Smash that like button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Do you think Cora's change is genuine? Should Earline trust her? Where are you watching from? 3 months after Cora got her retail job, we met for coffee for the first time since she'd moved out. We met at a neutral cafe halfway between my house and the room Cora was renting. I arrived early, nervous about seeing my daughter face to face after everything that had happened. Cora walked in exactly on time. She looked different, thinner, tired, but also somehow more present, more real. Hi, Mom, Cora said, sitting down across from me. Hello, Cora, I said. We sat in awkward silence for a moment. Then Cora spoke. Thank you for meeting me, Cora said. I wasn't sure you would. I said I would, I replied. I keep my word. I know, Cora said quietly. I'm learning that about you. You always kept your word. I took it for granted. A waitress came and took our order. Coffee for both of us. Neither of us ordered food, Cora because she was budgeting carefully, me because I was too nervous to eat. How's work? I asked once the waitress left. Exhausting, Cora admitted. I work 35 hours a week on my feet. My back hurts. My feet hurt. I come home too tired to do anything but eat and sleep. That's what work is like, I said gently, especially when you're starting out. I know that now, Cora said. Mom, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking a lot about the past 2 years, about how I treated you. and I'm ashamed." "What are you ashamed of specifically?" I asked. "All of it," Cora said. "Living in your house without contributing, demanding money, stealing your debit card, treating you like you existed to serve me, and then," her voice broke, "screaming that I hated you." "That was particularly hurtful," I acknowledged. "I didn't mean it," Cora said quickly. "I was angry and I wanted to hurt you because you were setting boundaries I didn't like, but I didn't actually mean it." "Cora, whether you meant it or not, you said it," I pointed out. "And you'd said similar things many times before. Maybe not those exact words, but the sentiment was the same, that I was failing you, disappointing you, not doing enough." "You're right," Cora said. "I've been blaming you for my problems since I was a teenager. Every time something didn't work out, I found a way to make it your fault. You didn't support me enough. You didn't believe in me enough. You were too strict, or not strict enough, or too poor, or too controlling." "But the truth is," Cora continued, "you did everything possible for me. You worked multiple jobs. You put me through college. You housed me, fed me, and supported me for 43 years. And I never once said thank you." "No, you didn't," I agreed. "So I'm saying it now," Cora said, tears forming. "Thank you, Mom, for everything you sacrificed for me. I didn't appreciate it then. But now that I'm working and paying my own bills and barely making ends meet, I understand what you went through. And I'm sorry I made it harder instead of easier." I felt my own tears forming. This was the apology I'd needed for years. Not the defensive, "sorry you're upset" apologies Cora had given before, but genuine acknowledgement of what she'd done wrong. "I accept your apology," I said. "Thank you for saying that." "There's more," Cora said. "The counselor at the shelter made me do something. She made me write down all the times I blamed you for things that were actually my responsibility." Cora pulled out a folded piece of paper from her purse. "Can I read some of it to you?" "If you want," I said. Cora unfolded the paper and read. "I blamed you for me not finding a good job. But the truth is, I refused to take available jobs because I thought they were beneath me. You didn't prevent me from working. I chose not to work. I blamed you for me being broke. But the truth is, I spent money irresponsibly and refused to earn my own income. You didn't make me poor. My choices did. I blamed you for my failed relationships. But the truth is, I was selfish and demanding in those relationships just like I was with you. You didn't ruin my relationships. I did. I blamed you for me living with you at 43. But the truth is, you gave me a free place to live, and I took advantage of it instead of using that time to get on my feet. You didn't trap me there. I chose to stay and mooch." Cora's voice cracked as she read the last one. "I blamed you for everything wrong with my life. But the truth is, you gave me every opportunity and advantage you could. I'm the one who wasted them. You're not responsible for my failures. I am." Cora folded the paper and looked at me with red eyes. That was the hardest thing I've ever written, because it meant admitting that I've wasted 20 years making excuses instead of taking responsibility. "But you're taking responsibility now," I said. "That matters." "Is it too late?" Cora asked. "Have I damaged our relationship beyond repair?" I thought carefully before answering. Our old relationship is beyond repair. The relationship where I sacrificed everything and you took everything, that's over. It wasn't healthy for either of us. "But," I continued, "we can build a new relationship. One where we're both independent adults who treat each other with respect, where you don't expect me to support you, and I don't enable your avoidance of responsibility." "I'd like that," Cora said. "Mom, I don't want anything from you except a relationship. I'm not asking for money or a place to live or anything. I just want to know you, as a person, not as someone to take from." "I'd like that too," I said. Over the next few months, Cora and I met for coffee once a month. The meetings were awkward at first, but gradually became more comfortable. I learned things about Cora I'd never known, not because she'd never told me, but because I'd never asked. Our entire relationship had been about what she needed from me, never about who she was as a person. "I hate my job," Cora admitted during our third coffee meeting. "But I'm grateful for it. Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense," I said. The shelter counselor said something that stuck with me, Cora continued. She said, "You can hate a job and still show up because you're an adult who pays bills." That seems obvious now, but I never learned it before. "Because I always protected you from having to learn it," I said. "You did," Cora agreed. "But also, I refused to learn it. Every time you tried to set boundaries or encourage me to work, I fought you. So this isn't all on you, Mom. I actively resisted growing up." "Why do you think that was?" I asked. Cora thought for a moment. "Because being taken care of was easier than taking care of myself. And because somewhere along the way, I started believing I deserved to be taken care of, that I was special and shouldn't have to do what everyone else does." "Where did that belief come from?" I asked. "Partly from you," Cora admitted. "You always told me I was special, that I deserved the best, that I shouldn't settle. I think you meant it as encouragement, but I twisted it into entitlement." "But also," Cora continued, "it came from me, from my own arrogance and laziness. Plenty of people have parents who encourage them without becoming entitled adults. I made choices, bad choices." This level of self-awareness was shocking. The old Cora would have blamed everything on me or circumstances. This new Cora was taking ownership. 4 months after getting her retail job, Cora called me with news. "Mom, I got promoted," Cora said, excitement in her voice. "That's wonderful," I said. "What's the new position?" "Sales team lead," Cora explained. "It's only a $2 per hour raise, but it's recognition that I'm doing good work, and it's proof that I can succeed when I actually try." "I'm very proud of you," I said sincerely. "Thank you," Cora said. "Mom, I wanted to ask you something. Would you be willing to come to my place for dinner? I want to cook for you, to show you where I live and how I'm managing." I hesitated. Going to Cora's place felt like a bigger step than coffee at a neutral cafe. "You don't have to," Cora said quickly, sensing my hesitation. "I understand if you're not ready." "No, I'd like to," I decided. "When?" "This Saturday," Cora suggested. "Around 6. "I'll be there," I said. That Saturday, I drove to the address Cora had given me, an older house that had been converted into rental rooms. Cora's room was on the second floor. She met me at the door, looking nervous. "Welcome to my humble home," Cora said with a self-deprecating smile. The room was tiny, maybe 150 square feet, with a small kitchenette in one corner, a twin bed, a dresser, and a small table with 2 chairs. The bathroom was shared with other tenants down the hall. But it was clean, organized, clearly maintained with care. "It's not much," Cora said, "but it's mine. I pay for it myself." "It's wonderful," I said honestly. "You should be proud." Cora had made a simple dinner, spaghetti with salad and garlic bread. Nothing fancy, but it was home-cooked and made with effort. As we ate, Cora talked about her life, her work schedule, her budgeting struggles, her goals. "I'm saving $50 a paycheck," Cora said. "It's not much, but I want to build an emergency fund. The counselor at the shelter said that's important, having savings so you don't end up homeless again if something goes wrong." "That's very wise," I said. "I'm also thinking about going back to school," Cora said. "Not full-time, I can't afford that, but maybe one class at a time at the community college, to update my skills." "What would you study?" I asked. "I'm thinking about accounting or bookkeeping," Cora said. "Practical skills that lead to steady jobs, not communications or marketing where I'd be competing with thousands of other people for limited positions." "That sounds like a good plan," I said. "Mom, I need to tell you something," Cora said, setting down her fork. "Living in this tiny room, working retail, struggling to make ends meet, it's been the best thing that ever happened to me." "Why?" I asked, surprised. "Because for the first time in my life, I'm standing on my own," Cora explained. "I'm not dependent on anyone. I'm not making excuses. I'm not blaming others. I'm just doing what needs to be done." "And it's hard," Cora continued. "It's really hard. I'm tired all the time, my feet hurt. I can barely afford groceries some weeks, but I'm also proud. For the first time since I was a kid, I'm proud of myself." You should be, I said. I wish I'd learned this 20 years ago, Cora said. I wasted so much time, made so many excuses, hurt you so badly. You can't change the past, I said. You can only change the present and future. I'm trying, Cora said. Every day I'm trying to be better than I was. 6 months after Cora had moved out of my house, 7 months since that night I'd packed her bags, she showed up at my door unannounced. I opened the door to find Cora standing there, holding a small envelope. Hi, Mom, Cora said. Can I come in for a minute? Of course, I said, stepping aside. Cora came in and handed me the envelope. I wanted to give you this in person. I opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $600. What's this? I asked. The money I stole from you, Cora said. When I took your debit card and spent $600, I've been saving a little bit each paycheck to pay you back. It took 7 months, but here it is. I stared at the check, tears forming. Not because of the money, but because of what it represented. Cora taking responsibility, making amends, following through. Thank you, I said. This means a lot. I need to tell you something else, Cora said. I've been calculating how much I owe you for the 2 years I lived with you. Rent, utilities, food, everything. I estimate I owe you about $24,000. Cora, you don't have to, I started. Yes, I do, Cora interrupted gently. I took advantage of you for 2 years. I need to make that right. I can't pay it all back at once. I'm barely making ends meet as it is. But I want to pay you back $50 a month. It'll take me 40 years, but I'll do it. Cora, that's not necessary, I said. I don't need you to pay me back. I need to pay you back, Cora said firmly. Not because you need the money, but because I need to do it. I need to acknowledge what I took from you, and I need to make amends. If that's important to you, then okay, I said. Thank you, Cora said. She pulled another envelope from her purse, smaller, handwritten. There's one more thing. Can you read this after I leave? What is it? I asked. A letter, Cora said. Just read it when you're alone, please. Okay, I agreed. Cora hugged me, a real hug, warm and sincere, and left. After she was gone, I sat down and opened the letter. Dear Mom, I'm writing this because there are things I need to say that I can't say face to face without crying so hard you wouldn't understand me. 7 months ago, you packed my bags while I slept. At the time, I thought you were being cruel, throwing away your daughter because I'd been inconvenient. I told everyone who would listen what a terrible mother you were. But you weren't being cruel. You were being brave. Brave enough to stop enabling me. Brave enough to hold me accountable. Brave enough to force me to grow up even though it meant potentially losing me. Mom, I'm not going to lie and say I'm glad you kicked me out. The past 7 months have been the hardest of my life. I've been scared, exhausted, struggling constantly. There were nights I cried myself to sleep in my tiny room, wondering how I was going to make it. But I did make it. I'm making it. And I'm becoming someone I can respect. Someone who works hard, who pays her bills, who takes responsibility, who doesn't blame others for her problems. I'm becoming the person you tried to raise me to be, the person I should have been 20 years ago. I know I hurt you badly. I know there were times you wondered if you should give in and let me come back. Thank you for not giving in. Thank you for loving me enough to let me struggle. Because that struggle saved my life. If you'd rescued me, I'd still be that entitled 43-year-old woman living off her mother. I'd still be making excuses. I'd still be wasting my life. But because you held firm, because you made me face consequences, I'm finally growing up. I can't give you back the 2 years I took from you. I can't undo the cruel things I said. I can't erase the pain I caused. But I can promise you this. I will spend the rest of my life trying to be a daughter you can be proud of. Not by being perfect, I'll never be perfect, but by being responsible, honest, and grateful. Thank you, Mom, for everything you sacrificed over 43 years, for raising me alone, for working multiple jobs, for putting me through college, for loving me even when I was unlovable. And most of all, thank you for that night 7 months ago when you packed my bags. That was the night you stopped being the mother who enabled me and became the mother who saved me. I love you, Mom, and I'm sorry for taking so long to appreciate you. Your daughter, Cora. I read the letter 3 times, crying through all 3 readings. This was what I'd needed to hear for decades. Not just sorry, but real understanding of what she'd put me through and genuine appreciation for what I'd sacrificed. And more importantly, I could see that Cora's change was real. Not manipulation to get back into my house or money, real transformation. 1 year after I'd packed Cora's bags, we met for our regular monthly coffee. But this time, Cora had big news. Mom, I got a new job, Cora announced. Another promotion, I guessed. No, a completely new job, Cora said. I've been taking accounting classes at the community college for the past 6 months, and I applied for a bookkeeping position at a small firm. They offered me the job. It pays $40,000 a year. Cora, that's wonderful, I said, genuinely thrilled. It's not amazing money, Cora said, but it's a real career, with benefits and room to grow, and it's using my brain instead of just my ability to stand for 8 hours. I'm so proud of you, I said. I couldn't have done it without you, Cora said. You did this yourself, I corrected. You took the classes, you applied for the job, you earned this. But you gave me the push I needed, Cora insisted. If you'd kept enabling me, I'd still be sitting on your couch making excuses about why I couldn't find work. Maybe, I said, but you're the one who chose to change. I just stopped preventing you from facing consequences. Well, thank you for that, Cora said. Because that night you packed my bags, that was the night my life started changing. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping our coffee. Mom, can I ask you something? Cora said. Of course. Do you forgive me? Cora asked. For everything, for the 2 years of taking advantage of you, for screaming that I hated you, for all of it. I thought carefully before answering. Yes, I forgive you, not because you've earned it, though you have worked hard to change, but because holding on to anger was hurting me more than it was helping. But, I added, forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. I remember what happened, and I remember how it felt. And that's why our relationship now has to be different from what it was. I understand, Cora said, and I'm okay with that. I don't want the old relationship back. That relationship was unhealthy for both of us. I agree, I said. I like this better, Cora said. 2 independent adults who respect each other, who don't owe each other anything except honesty and kindness. So do I said. Before I continue, kindly subscribe now. Smash that like button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Do you believe Cora's change is permanent? What part of her transformation inspired you most? Where are you watching from? 3 years had passed since that night I'd packed Cora's bags while she slept. 3 years since my daughter had screamed, I hate you, and I'd calmly told her to leave. I sat in my living room on a quiet Sunday afternoon, reflecting on how much had changed, not just for Cora, but for me. My house was peaceful, truly peaceful, not the tense, walking on eggshells silence of living with an entitled adult child, but genuine tranquility. I'd reclaimed my space, my time, my energy, and most importantly, my peace of mind. And my relationship with Cora, it had become something I'd never thought possible, healthy. 3 years after moving out, Cora was thriving in ways I'd never imagined. She'd been working as a bookkeeper for 2.5 years now at the same firm. Not only had she kept the job, but she'd been promoted twice and was now making $52,000 a year. Mom, they're sending me to a conference in Atlanta, Cora told me during our monthly coffee meeting. All expenses paid. They said I'm being considered for senior bookkeeper next year. That's incredible, Cora, I said, genuine pride swelling in my chest. I never thought I'd have a real career, Cora admitted. For 20 years, I bounced between jobs, always blaming someone else when things didn't work out. But now I understand. Success comes from showing up, doing the work, and being reliable. You've learned that lesson well, I said. The hard way, Cora said with a rueful smile. But I guess some of us need to learn the hard way. Cora had also moved out of the tiny rented room. A year ago, she'd saved enough for a deposit on a small one-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was hers, paid for with her own money, furnished with items she'd bought herself. "You should come see my place," Cora said. "I finally got a couch from a thrift store, but it's comfortable. And I painted the bedroom. It actually feels like home now." "I'd love to see it," I said. More importantly than the material progress, Cora had changed fundamentally as a person. The entitlement was gone. The blame shifting was gone. The constant demands were gone. In their place was someone I actually enjoyed spending time with. For 3 years, Cora had faithfully sent me $50 every month, repayment for the 2 years she'd lived with me without contributing. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something," Cora said during one of our coffee meetings about 6 months ago. "What is it?" I asked. "The debt I owe you," Cora said. "I've been paying $50 a month for almost 3 years. That's $1,800, which means I still owe you $22,200. "Cora, you don't have to keep paying," I said. "You've proven your point. You've taken responsibility." "No, I want to keep paying," Cora said. "But I want to increase it. I got another raise. I can afford to pay you $200 a month now. At that rate, I can pay you back completely in about 9 years instead of 40. "Are you sure?" I asked. "That's a significant amount of your income." "I'm sure," Cora said firmly. "Mom, I took advantage of you for 2 years. I lived rent-free, ate your food, used your utilities, and contributed nothing while treating you terribly. Paying you back isn't a burden. It's an obligation I'm honored to fulfill." "If it's important to you," I said. "It is," Cora confirmed. "Every month when I write that check, it reminds me of where I came from and who I don't want to be anymore." True to her word, Cora had been paying $200 a month for the past 6 months. She'd never missed a payment, never made excuses, just quiet, consistent responsibility. That meant more to me than the money itself. It showed me that Cora's change was real and lasting. But this story isn't just about Cora's transformation. It's also about mine. For 43 years, my entire identity had been wrapped up in being Cora's mother. Not just a mother, but a martyr mother who sacrificed everything. I'd worked multiple jobs, gone without, put Cora's needs first always, and I'd told myself that's what good mothers do. But in the 3 years since Cora left, I discovered something important. I'm more than just a mother. I'm Earline Thompson, a 68-year-old woman, now 71, with interests, talents, and a life of my own. I'd started attending a book club at the library, something I'd always wanted to do, but never had time for when Cora lived with me. I'd joined a community garden and discovered I loved growing vegetables. My tomatoes won second place at the county fair last summer. I'd reconnected with old friends I'd drifted away from during the years of supporting Cora. We met for lunch weekly now, laughing and sharing stories without me constantly worrying about what crisis Cora might be having. I'd even started dadding. Nothing serious, just coffee with a retired teacher named Luther who I'd met at church. It felt strange at first, prioritizing my own happiness and companionship, but it also felt right. "You seem happy, Earline," my neighbor Letty observed one day when we were both working in our gardens. "I am happy," I realized. For the first time in decades, I'm actually happy. "What changed?" Letty asked. "I stopped sacrificing myself for someone who didn't appreciate it," I said, "and I started living for myself." "Good for you," Letty said with approval. That was the truth. For 43 years, I'd believed that being a good mother meant endless sacrifice. But I'd learned something crucial. Sacrificing yourself doesn't help anyone. It just creates dependency and resentment. Real love, tough love, sets boundaries, demands accountability, refuses to enable dysfunction. And real love for yourself means recognizing you deserve peace and happiness too. About a year ago, Cora and I had a conversation that needed to happen. We were having our monthly coffee when Cora brought up the past. "Mom, I've been thinking about something," Cora said. About why I became the person I was, why I felt so entitled. What have you concluded? I asked. Part of it was you, Cora said carefully. The way you sacrificed everything for me, the way you always rescued me, the way you never let me face real consequences. I felt defensive, but forced myself to listen. But, Cora continued, the bigger part was me, my choices, my attitude, my refusal to grow up even when you tried to set boundaries. I've thought a lot about this too, I said. And you're right, I enabled you. I did too much for you. I protected you from consequences instead of letting you learn from them. Why did you do that? Cora asked gently. Because I loved you, I said. And because your father left and I felt guilty that you didn't have a dad. I thought if I worked harder, sacrificed more, gave you everything, it would make up for him abandoning us. But it didn't make up for it, Cora observed. No, I agreed. It just created a different problem. It taught you that you deserved everything without earning it, and it taught me that my worth came from how much I could sacrifice. We were both wrong, Cora said. We were, I confirmed. But Cora, I need you to understand something. Even though I enabled you, you made choices. You chose not to work. You chose to take advantage of me. You chose to be disrespectful. Those were your choices, not mine. I know, Cora said. And I own those choices now. I'm not blaming you anymore, Mom. I'm just trying to understand how we both got to that point. I appreciate that distinction, I said. I also want to say something, Cora continued. Thank you for finally setting boundaries, for finally holding me accountable. I know it was hard for you to kick me out. It went against everything you believed about being a mother. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, I admitted. But it was also the most loving thing you've ever done, Cora said, because it forced me to grow. It forced me to become who I needed to be. I hope so, I said. Mom, I'm not the same person who screamed, I hate you 3 years ago, Cora said firmly. That person was entitled, ungrateful, and blame-shifting. I'm not that person anymore, and I never want to be that person again. I believe you, I said, and I meant it. 2 years after Cora moved out, something unexpected happened. Cora asked if she could host Thanksgiving dinner. I know we haven't done a holiday together since I moved out, Cora said, but I'd like to start. I want to cook Thanksgiving dinner for you, in my apartment, just the two of us. I hesitated. Holidays had been fraught with tension when Cora lived with me, her complaining about my cooking, her demanding I do all the work while she contributed nothing. I understand if you're not ready, Cora said quickly. I know holidays weren't fun when I lived with you, but I promise this will be different. I'll do all the cooking. You just show up and enjoy. Okay, I decided. I'd like that. That Thanksgiving was one of the most memorable of my life. Cora's small apartment was decorated simply but warmly. She'd bought a small turkey, made stuffing and mashed potatoes from scratch, and even attempted a pumpkin pie. The pie might be terrible, Cora warned with a laugh. I've never made one before, but I wanted to try. The pie was actually good. Everything was good. But more than the food, the atmosphere was what mattered. We talked and laughed. Cora told me about her work. I told her about my book club and garden. We shared stories like two friends, not like a martyr mother and entitled daughter. At the end of the meal, Cora raised her glass of sparkling cider. I want to make a toast, Cora said, to the worst night of my life 3 years ago, which turned out to be the beginning of the best years of my life. What night? I asked, though I knew. The night you packed my bags, Cora said. I thought you were destroying our relationship, but you were actually saving it, and saving me. To new beginnings, I said, raising my own glass. To new beginnings, Cora echoed. We clinked glasses and drank, both of us with tears in our eyes, but smiles on our faces. A year ago, Cora asked me to join her for a therapy session. I've been seeing a therapist for 2 years, Cora explained. She's helped me understand so much about my patterns and behaviors, and she suggested that it might be helpful for you to come to a session, to talk through our relationship together. I'm willing, I said. The therapy session was intense. The therapist, Dr. Viola Chen, asked us both to talk about our perspectives on what had happened. I talked about 43 years of sacrificing, enabling, and eventually reaching my breaking point. Cora talked about entitlement, blame shifting, and the shock of having to support herself for the first time at 43. What I'm hearing, Dr. Chen said, is that both of you fell into patterns that were unhealthy. Earline, you overfunctioned. You did too much. You rescued when you should have let Cora struggle. And Cora, you underfunctioned. You avoided responsibility and took advantage of your mother's willingness to sacrifice. That's accurate, I said. Very accurate, Cora agreed. But what I also hear, Dr. Chen continued, is that you've both broken those patterns. Earline, you've learned to set boundaries and prioritize your own well-being. Cora, you've learned to take responsibility and support yourself. Those are huge changes. It took me kicking her out to break the pattern, I said. Sometimes that's what it takes, Dr. Chen said. Dysfunctional patterns don't break through gentle nudges, they break through crisis. And that crisis, Cora being forced to leave, created the opportunity for both of you to change. Do you think we can have a healthy relationship now? Cora asked the therapist. I think you already do, Dr. Chen said. You meet regularly but maintain independence. You support each other emotionally without financial enmeshment. You treat each other with respect. That's what a healthy adult parent-child relationship looks like. It doesn't look like what I thought it would, I admitted. I always imagined Cora and I would be very close, like best friends. Closeness isn't measured by time spent together or intensity of involvement, Dr. Chen explained. It's measured by authenticity and mutual respect. You can have a close relationship while maintaining healthy boundaries. I feel close to you, Mom, Cora said. Closer than I did when I lived with you, because now I actually appreciate you instead of taking you for granted. I feel the same way, I said. Now, 3 years after that night, I packed Cora's bags. I sat in my peaceful living room and thought about everything that had changed. My phone rang. It was Cora. Hi, Mom, Cora said. I'm calling with exciting news. What is it? I asked. I got the senior bookkeeper position, Cora announced. It comes with a salary of $62,000, and they're letting me work from home 3 days a week. Cora, that's wonderful, I said. I'm so proud of you. I couldn't have done it without you, Cora said. You did this yourself, I corrected for the 100th time. But you made it possible, Cora insisted. By refusing to enable me anymore, by forcing me to grow up, by loving me enough to let me struggle. You're welcome, I said. Mom, there's something else, Cora said. With this raise, I can pay you back faster. I want to increase my monthly payment to $400. I can have the full debt paid off in about 4 years instead of 9. Cora, you don't have to. I know I don't have to, Cora interrupted gently. But I want to. Paying you back is important to me. It's how I make amends for what I took from you. If it's important to you, then I accept, I said. Thank you, Cora said. Mom, can I tell you something? Always. I'm happy, Cora said simply. For the first time since I was a child, I'm genuinely happy. I have a career I'm proud of. I have my own place. I'm financially stable. I have goals and I'm achieving them. And I have a relationship with you that's actually healthy. I'm happy too, I said. I have my own life, my own interests, my own peace. And I have a daughter I'm genuinely proud of. We both made it, Cora said, her voice emotional. We both survived that terrible night and came out better on the other side. We did, I agreed. After we hung up, I sat with my thoughts for a long time. That night 3 years ago, the night Cora screamed, I hate you, and I packed her bags, had been the worst night of my life while it was happening. But in retrospect, it was the night that saved both our lives. Saved Cora from a lifetime of entitlement and dysfunction. Saved me from a lifetime of enabling and martyrdom. Forced both of us to become who we needed to be. Last month, Cora and I had what I consider our most important conversation. We were having our monthly coffee when Cora said, Mom, I want to talk about something serious. Okay, I said, concerned. Not bad serious, Cora clarified quickly. Just important serious. All right. I've been thinking about that night, Cora said. The night I screamed that I hated you. The night you packed my bags. The night that changed everything. I think about it too, I admitted. I want to tell you what I remember about waking up that next morning, Cora said. I woke up and walked down the hall and saw all my stuff by the door. And my first thought was, she's bluffing. She'll never actually make me leave. But I did, I said. You did, Cora confirmed. And when I realized you were serious, I was furious, terrified, desperate, all at once. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't going to be rescued. That must have been frightening, I said. It was, Cora agreed. But it was also necessary, because I'd spent 43 years believing someone would always catch me if I fell. And that belief prevented me from ever learning to stand on my own. I understand that now, I said. Mom, I want to thank you, Cora said. Not just for kicking me out, but for everything that came after, for not giving in when I begged, for not rescuing me when I struggled, for maintaining your boundaries even when it was hard. It was very hard, I admitted. There were times I almost called you and told you to come back. What stopped you? Cora asked. The memory of that sound, I said. What sound? The sound of you screaming, I hate you, I explained. Every time I thought about letting you come back, I'd remember that moment. And I'd remember that the relationship we had was toxic for both of us, that bringing you back would just recreate that toxicity. I'm glad you didn't give in, Cora said, because if you had, I'd still be that person, still entitled, still blaming you, still wasting my life. You're not that person anymore, I observed. No, Cora agreed. I'm not. I'm someone who works hard, who pays her bills, who takes responsibility, who appreciates the people who love her instead of taking them for granted. I'm proud of who you've become, I said. Thank you, Cora said, tears forming. That means everything to me, because for most of my life I didn't care if you were proud of me. I just expected you to support me regardless. But now your pride matters because I've earned it. We sat in silence for a moment, both of us emotional. Mom, can I ask you something? Cora said. Of course. Do you regret it? Cora asked. The way you raised me, the enabling, the sacrificing. I thought carefully before answering. I regret that I didn't set boundaries sooner, that I did too much for you for too long, that I taught you to be dependent instead of independent. But, I continued, I don't regret loving you, or working hard to provide for you, or wanting the best for you. I just wish I'd understood sooner that the best thing I could give you wasn't more sacrifice, it was accountability. You gave me both eventually, Cora said. 43 years of sacrifice, then accountability when I needed it most. I suppose that's true, I said. And now, Cora said with a smile, you get to enjoy your own life. No more sacrificing, no more enabling, just living for yourself. It's been wonderful, I admitted. These past 3 years have been some of the happiest of my life. Mine too, Cora said. Isn't that ironic? We're both happier apart than we were living together. Not apart, I corrected gently. Independent. There's a difference. We're still in each other's lives, we still love each other. We're just both standing on our own feet now. Independent, Cora repeated. I like that better. That night, I sat in my quiet living room and felt something I'd spent 43 years searching for. Peace. Not the absence of problems, but genuine tranquility. I'd spent decades believing that being a good mother meant endless sacrifice, that my worth came from how much I could give up for my daughter, that love meant never saying no, never setting boundaries, never prioritizing myself. But I'd learned something crucial. That's not love, that's martyrdom, and martyrdom doesn't help anyone. Real love sets boundaries. Real love demands accountability. Real love says, I care about you too much to enable your dysfunction. And real self-love says, I deserve peace and happiness too. My daughter had screamed that she hated me. That night, I'd packed her bags. And in doing so, I'd reclaimed my peace. Not just the peace of a quiet house, though I had that now. But the deeper peace of knowing I'd finally done the right thing, the hard thing, the brave thing. I'd stopped enabling. I'd set boundaries. I'd demanded better. And 3 years later, both Cora and I were thriving because of it. That night, 3 years ago, had felt like the end of our relationship. But it had actually been the beginning of a real one. A relationship built on mutual respect instead of one-sided sacrifice. On independence instead of unhealthy dependence. On authenticity instead of resentment. Cora no longer needed me to survive, and I no longer needed to be needed. We'd both found ourselves, our own identities separate from each other. And paradoxically, that separateness had brought us closer than we'd ever been when we were enmeshed. My phone buzzed, a text from Cora. "Thanks for coffee today, Mom. I love you. Not because you give me things or do things for me, but because of who you are. See you next month." I smiled and texted back. "I love you too, sweetheart. Proud of the woman you've become." I set down my phone and looked around my peaceful living room. My space, my sanctuary, my home. For 43 years, I'd believed my purpose was to sacrifice myself for my daughter. But my real purpose had been to raise her to not need me. It had taken me far too long to understand that. But 3 years ago, when I'd packed those bags, I'd finally gotten it right. And now we both had what we needed: independence, peace, and a healthy relationship built on mutual respect and love. That screaming match had ended our old relationship. That packed bag had started our new one. And that new relationship, built on boundaries instead of enabling, was better than anything we'd had before. I'd reclaimed my peace. And in doing so, I'd given Cora the chance to find hers too. That was the greatest gift a mother could give. Not endless sacrifice, but the courage to let go. What an incredible transformation. 3 years later, Cora is a senior bookkeeper making $62,000 a year. She lived in a tiny room, worked retail, struggled, but grew. She's been paying Earline $200 a month for 3 years, $7,200 total, now increasing to $400 a month. She hosted Thanksgiving, attends therapy, and has her own apartment. She said, "That night you packed my bags was the worst night that became the best thing." Earline reclaimed her peace, joined a book club, started a garden, even started dating. For 43 years, she sacrificed everything. Now she's living for herself. They have monthly coffee, a healthy relationship built on mutual respect, not enabling. Cora texted, "I love you not for what you give me, but for who you are." This story proves that enabling doesn't help, it cripples. Tough love saves lives. Setting boundaries is an act of love. You can't help someone who won't help themselves. Peace comes from healthy boundaries, not sacrifice. Real relationships require independence, not dependence. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to this channel for more powerful stories. Smash that like button. Turn on notifications for new content. Drop a comment. What part of this transformation inspired you most? Have you ever had to set tough boundaries with family? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, South Africa, Australia, Trinidad, India, Philippines? Let me know. Remember, if you're enabling an adult child who won't help themselves, stop. Real love demands accountability. Real love sets boundaries. Real love says, "I care about you too much to let you destroy yourself." Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let someone struggle so they can learn to stand on their own. Earline's daughter screamed, "I hate you." That night, Earline packed her bags and reclaimed her peace. 3 years later, both their lives are transformed. May this story inspire you to stop sacrificing yourself and start demanding accountability from those you love. Thank you for following this powerful journey from enabling to boundaries, from resentment to respect, from dysfunction to peace. Until the next story, stay strong, protect your peace, and remember that tough love is often the truest love.